When you hear the name Mr. Negative, you probably think of the guy from the Spider-Man PS4, PS5 game. I can't blame you. That game did a good job at portraying him, honestly. But you know, there's a comic him too that's pretty much similar, but let's talk about him. Well, when you look at his lore on Marvel, the official website.com, Martin Lee, just like the video game, he's Chinese born, Mr. Negative, using his control of both the Light Force and Dark Force to expand his criminal empire, even while his nicer dual persona helps the community. Directly from Marvel.com, as a wealthy and widely held philanthropist, the man known as Martin Lee uses his financial resources to help those in need. But in his other identity, just like the video game, he's that of a ruthless underworld figure, Mr. Negative. He uses his extra-dimensional energy powers to corrupt anything he touches as the leader of a criminal empire. There's plenty of lore right here for you to read, if you so wish. You will more than likely find all this lore interesting. Just like in the games, he technically has 2 different modes, and each mode technically have their own perks. When he's in Mr. Negative mode, he has destructive power, but he has healing when he's Lee in his normal state. When it comes to his superpowers, like classic comic book origin story type stuff, there were beings that were injected with something that would supposedly be lethal to normal people, but of course you got to be one of those rare people that survive. Of course, Martin Lee was one of them 3 people, rare people that survived this test of this synthetic drug, changing him forever, changing his physiology, along with others doing similar things to their body. They went through changes too, along with Martin Lee. These other 2 beings that changed was Cloak and Dagger. You might recognize them from being heroes and stuff. Martin Lee, Mr. Negative, just ended up being a bad guy. Now that he's Mr. Negative, it gives him a plethora of different abilities, versatility-wise, right? Like, he can literally take over the mind of a group of people and have them do their bidding. This is the part that makes him scary. It's almost like he can always have a legion at his beck and call. Like, look at their eyes. He can change it. Like, it's even stated, I used to wonder how Martin Lee's corrupting touch managed to affect everyone he used it on. So straight up mind control. He can tell people to basically jump off a bridge if he wants to, and they actually listen for the most part. There's implications on occasions like this that he can low-key heal, one can say. And also, this healing BS is even confirmed in the handbook. He can cure people's ailments by augmenting their natural immune systems. Can use his energy manipulation on his weapon to make his weapons increase its power. Like on this blade, you see how the blade looks normal here, and you see how it looks black here. He's powering up, giving it more cutting power. In the lore, when it comes to amping up his weapons, they talk about by touch, he can charge objects such as weapons with electrical energy, greatly augmenting their efficiency. That sword is not just for show. He's technically an accomplished swordsman. Matter of fact, his sword can do this to symbiote tiers, beings that usually eat bullets for breakfast, showing his cutting power and strength. His sword can obviously cut through steel and mess up circuitry, obviously. He has his gang of demons, like you probably recognize this from the video game. One could say his own personal army. Obviously, they're not as strong as him, but he does give them some amplification to help them out. For example, like they was literally turned into stone and they was able to break out of that, which is kind of crazy. His gang can even heal by being impaled, so let you know the perks of being with Mr. Negative. Shot in the stomach, no problem. One can look at it like whatever they can do, Mr. Negative himself can do better because they're literally his minions. Like their swords can cut through concrete and stuff. So what do you think Mr. Negatives can do? He can even have them take care of this horde of spider monsters on their own while he's just relaxing, one could say basically. When characters like Dagger had a little issues with the same entities. It kind of gives you some perspective on the minions, goons he has. Something else that's also important to realize is that he lacks appearances. So the best way to understand his strength is really his writer intent. Like when we see him fight and constantly getting in battles with Spider-Man centric type foes, it also shows his fighting skills too, because how he intricately hits Hammerhead's junk like this, looking like a nerve hit, showing fighting paralysis in the ring with Spider-Man centric type characters like Hammerhead. Hammerhead is not a normal human tier character, guys. This guy was getting hit by Luke Cage over and over again, and even hit him back, might I add. So he's definitely not a normal human tier. Yet Martin Lee, Mr. Negative, got in the ring with this being and actually put some work in on him. Like, even though he's an energy projector type character, obviously he does have super strength and durability and stuff like that, right? You see his sword. But in handbooks, you can kind of get an idea of the class he's in because, you know, you can't take these numbers as Bible. You got to get an idea of the class he's in. They say that he does have superhuman strength in class 50. You know how they always say classes, you know, Spider-Man's class 10, they say he's class 50. They literally say in his transformed state, he gets superhuman strength and reflexes, being fast enough to dodge bullets. So that means he has fighting speed. I mean, look at his grid when it comes to his strength. His grid is pretty impressive. Don't take this as Bible, but hey, this is how they have his strength. A 5 out of 7 is pretty good for a Spider-Man villain. It's hard to imagine this guy lifting a tank, to be honest. That sounds wild. But the writers basically confirms he could, being in class 50, they say, which is probably means he can lift more than 50 tons, because most people in class 10 can lift more than 50 tons. You know how Marvel does. They say Spider-Man's class 10, but he can lift thousands of tons. You know what I mean? Just take that as you will. If he has this kind of strength, what the heck does his punches feel like? Or what the heck does his sword slashes feel like? It's probably hard for you to imagine somebody like Mr. Negative kicking a tank and flipping it with his kicking power. You can get an idea of his strength, how he sends a man flying with a kick. Super great martial arts fighters like Shang-Chi, one of the best fighters in Marvel. We see him restrain him with one arm, and it seems to be discomfort. Jackpots are being in her lore that can lift at least 5 tons. Probably more than that, but you know how they say these class systems. Anyway, superhuman beings like Jackpot, we see Mr. Negative actually hit such beings and make them pretty much defenseless at this point where it almost makes you feel bad for him to some degree. Not to mention he can take whatever he can dish out, like beings like Jackpot can hit him, and he can eat such attacks like it's nothing really. We know Jackpot can actually scuffle with Super Scrolls and stuff. I mean, look who he's always fighting, Spider-Man. So you know he has to be somewhere in that ballpark. I mean, he hits him here and does this to the ground, showing his punches can do stuff like this to concrete and crack it open, punch through walls with ease. Duh. Not only is he fighting Spider-Man, but we literally seen him kick Spider-Man himself, somebody that can lift over hundreds of tons, like I've already shown before in the past, through concrete statues, guys. I mean, sure, I'm aware that Spider-Man always holds back, but you gotta be pretty freaking strong to be catching Spider-Man's hits this casually. Matter of fact, they even talk about his super strength here, saying, have you ever seen me display my super strength? Have you ever witnessed its upper limits? He then proceeds to hitting Spider-Man so hard he flies through a building all the way through it and made him look drowsy afterwards. Oh, my bad. This was technically 2 buildings. This one building goes through here, goes through all of this mess, and keeps on falling looking drowsy. Matter of fact, Mr. Negative can hit so hard, Spider-Man even said that he hit him with a hit before that would make the freaking Hulk proud. So let you know that Mr. Negative can hit really hard. And when it comes to bullets, in this occasion with Jackpot still, of course, like I already brought up, they ask, are you bulletproof? There's implications that a bullet might not be enough to take him out. You know Mr. Negative is a threat when it's literally stated. Spider-Man's going to hit him with everything he's got in one punch. Are they implying Spider-Man's not holding back? Proceeds to hitting him. Of course, he gets staggered, but he stays conscious, letting you know how much he can withstand. And to make matters worse, when we're talking about comparing them to symbiote tears or spider tears, beings that are as strong as Spider-Man, or one can argue even stronger, we've actually seen Martin get hit by such strong beings. There was literally an explosion that one could say caused an entire building to collapse, a building size or a building leveling destructive type thing, and he was able to withstand such crap. This is something else that's also Spider-Man centric, so even huge explosions like this can't take him out. Bigger than buildings, or the building falling on top of him is not enough. Might I add that he's still conscious. Clothes just messed up though. And the part that makes him scary is that he can already slap away tanks with his kind of strength and stuff like that. All out punches from Spider-Man he can withstand, building leveling stuff he can withstand, but also has the fighting speed that he can deflect bullets, superhuman fighting speed. I mean, he has to be able to compete with Spider-Man being fast as a superhuman. Like, we literally see him do some Matrix stuff, like dodging the bullets. Like, he literally did this. I'm not exaggerating. You can literally see that happen. And also cut your gun by throwing his blade. So he can already cut real hard, punch you real hard, kick you real hard. He can also, but he also has reflexes to where you can't hardly hit him either because he has fighting speed. I mean, we're talking about a guy that literally got shot with a bullet, and his fighting speed is fast enough to literally slice bullets in half because of his reflexes with his blade skills and swordsmanship put together. Saying he can react to bullets is basically an oversimplification because we know he has similar speed to Spider-Man, always fighting Spider-Man, and we've known Spider-Man has competed with beings that have the speed of light on their side. So it's a good implication that Mr. Negative, when it comes to his fighting speed, can react to things coming at him at hypersonic speeds. He has all this raw strength with all this fighting speed, along with his energy projective ability to be able to control your mind, make you do what he wants you to do. I mean, the way his powers work, if you're somebody that's a good person and you catch him doing something dark and nasty, he can make you pretty much forget what you saw and just go about your day. You do not need to tell nobody. If there's too many powerful beings, he can just be like, hey, rock slide. be a part of my crew and fight with me, basically. Yo, he could just do this kind of stuff on the spot. The scary thing about Mr. Negative is that he even has done this mind control stuff to beings that have absurdly crazy willpower. Like, even Spider-Man himself, you know how willpower is usually the counter to mind control. The fact you can even control Spider-Man for a little bit amount of time shows how potent your mind control is, because usually the stronger the character, usually their willpower is crazy. He's literally the living embodiment of indomitable will, and he still was able to control him for a little bit. So basically, in regards to his super strength, Spider-Man himself, somebody we've seen support a little bit of weight of the Daily Bugle entire buildings. We've seen him actually do these kind of things. Obviously, it's not the whole building, but that doesn't matter. Even supporting 1% of the whole building would still be thousands of tons, like I've said in the past. And Mr. Negative has the kind of strength that threatens Spider-Man. Spider-Man even said he hit him with a hit before that would make the Hulk proud. Mr. Negative even took an all-out blow from Spider-Man himself and even stayed conscious afterwards. There's clear writer intent. Whatever Spider-Man can do, Mr. Negative should be somewhere in that range of power. Even if you want to say he got the strength advantage, he's not far off. Mr. Negative has to be somewhere in that symbiote or Spider-Man range, meaning he should be able to live somewhere in the thousands of tons, just like Spider-Man, or punch with similar force like that or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we literally seen him survive a building falling on him, building collapsing force, seen him take, meaning he could probably support 1,000 tons if he was put in that same situation like Spider-Man when he was under a building. If he had to support it, he would more than likely be able to support it for a little while, because he has to be somewhere in the strength ranges with Spider-Man. With all this information we got on him, his punches would basically feel like a building falling on you. Like, it would feel like a building falling on you. That's how hard his punches would feel like, technically, if we're taking all this lore seriously. But for the most part, everybody, you have really no choice but to respect Mr. Negative, guys. But before I get going, I gotta say thanks to the donators. Helps out a lot. Respect Mr. Negative. Martin Lee. He's stronger than you thought, probably, right? I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.